Welcome in, guys. This is the AJA Sports Show. I'm Ace, joined in as always with Jay and Andrew. This is your mock draft 3.0.
Boom! The big one.
Tomorrow's
the day.
Tomorrow's the day. So we'll see how well we do. We have a couple side bets on this one, and we'll see. We haven't decided the punishments / prizes because a punishment for someone could also be a prize for the others. So
maybe they could maybe the viewers could decide that for us. We put up a little poll after this.
I think that is a fantastic idea. We'll post to Twitter and Instagram, and we'll get your guys' opinion. So without further ado, I'm excited. Let's do this.
And you can do your little noise before each of the picks, or what?
Oh, crushed it. All right.
Goodell?
So we have 8 slides here. We're gonna start with the first one. So you'll see our first 4 picks all together and see where we differ. But we'll go down the list one at a time, and we'll let you know kind of our reasoning and try to keep it short and simple for you guys at home.
Yep.
All right. So here's our mock draft 3.0. We all consensus have Trevor Lawrence going number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pretty simple here. I can just do the commentary. This is the pick. Unless the sun doesn't shine tomorrow, I don't think there is a reality where Trevor Lawrence is not the number 1 pick. And in that regard as well, we all have Zach Wilson following him to the Jets at number 2. In this scenario, if the moon doesn't come up tomorrow, then Zach Wilson won't go to the Jets. I'll just keep it there for us. I mean, this is the consensus picks. I don't think anybody's going to get these 2 wrong. If we do, that would be hilarious because the world is pretty, certain that Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson will go 1 and 2 off the board. So here we can have a little fun. I'll go first. My third pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a big kid, and I'm assuming that because the 49ers didn't have to trade around and get up into the first round, that they would do so and take a risk. So to me, Mac Jones is not a risk. Trey Lance has a little bit more upside to me. Trey Lance is the pick. And then what do you guys want to explain your picks?
Yeah, sure. I think this all comes down to Kyle Shanahan, really, at least from what we're hearing. Apparently, all the little rumors that Kyle Shanahan, it's all about him and it's his offense and he just needs the chess piece to run it are all true. And I guess Mac Jones is the guy that he thinks can do that. I personally don't agree. I know Jay does not agree with that. I think either one of these ones are, either Trey Lance or Mac Jones are not the right pick, but there are reasons for both of them, I guess. But I think they're going to end up going with what Kyle Shanahan kind of wants here. So Mac Jones.
Yeah, so it's a 2-horse race, according to Peter King for NBC Sports, says it's between Trey Lance and Mac Jones. These are not the picks that we would be picking because Justin Fields should be going number 2 to the Jets, but we just don't know what we're doing anymore, I guess. Asa mentioned, you move up to take some risk. You literally get the best of both worlds with Justin Fields. He has the opportunity to be absolutely unbelievable, and he also has the opportunity to be very good. Like his floor is super sustainable because we know he's coming from a great offense. He's got all the tools in terms of being able to throw, to run on the run, and he throws in the pocket. So Justin Fields is the second best quarterback to me. It's kind of ridiculous, but yeah, Mac Jones. From what it sounded like today in the press conference with Lynch and Shanahan as well, he just wants someone to go out there and run his playbook. Great, okay, you can get Mac Jones. That's fine. Can you tell how bummed I sound about this pick? I'm so bummed. Like, I don't even like the 49ers.
I'm just glad I'm not a 49ers fan, to be honest. That's all. I'm just glad because I'd be punching my TV. This would be like the Chicago Bears taking Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, so the 49ers fans must be just, having stomach aches trying to figure out where the heck their team is going to go here. But yeah, it kind of seems like it's going to be one of these two. So we'll see who gets this one right. Number 4 on the board is the Atlanta Falcons. There's some news dropped today. or sorry, not today, a couple of days ago, that Julio Jones might be moved around. And so I have Kyle Pitts going here for the best playmaker in this draft. If you're going to get rid of Julio Jones, then Kyle Pitts would be the guy to replace him with on your roster.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of it comes down to the button to the heads of the front office between the head coach and the GM. I think they end up just taking Kyle Pitts here. He's the second best player in the draft overall. So Kyle Pitts makes a ton of sense here. If Julio doesn't move, then you're looking at our scary offensive trio of Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Kyle Pitts with Matt Ryan throwing the ball to them. He's going to make $40 million next year, so it's kind of hard to move Matt Ryan now or to have someone play behind him and him not be on the field. So Kyle Pitts makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Julio Jones is unbelievable. I don't think he's going to get moved either. He'd have to be a post-June 1st cut, like a June 2nd cut, so that way they can save $15 million, and he still has a huge cap hit in 2022. So either way you slice it, he's going to be a big cap hit. You might as well just have him on the roster. Fun fact I saw about Julio Jones, he actually leads the NFL in receiving yards per game in NFL history. He averages 95.5 yards per game. The second closest is Calvin Johnson at 86.1.
Okay, Matt Ryan. Throw the ball to Julio Jones more.
Julio Jones, yeah, between Julio Jones and Ridley, and you add Pitts, and they also have Hayden Hurst, who, I mean, obviously isn't on the level of those other three guys, but Mike Davis in the backfield too. I mean, they have a pretty potent offense there, which has never been the problem, but, never hurts to have it.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So we're going to move on to our next slide here. We have our picks 5 through 8. So the Bengals are on the clock. I have them taking Jamar Chase. I couldn't decide. And I just think that based off of
it's tough
who the Bengals are, it's a coin flip regardless, but I believe the LSU tie to Joey Burrow kind of seals the coin flip here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. So I'm going to go next because I think Jamar Chase is, obviously best true wide receiver on the board in this draft. He hasn't played since 2019 because he opted out last year, but was just absolutely unbelievable. Has shown, he's got a running back body, but runs out of the catch like great like he runs a 4.33. He's super explosive. He's physical off the line of scrimmage. I was thinking Sewell here too. I went back and forth, and the Bengals are too, which is why Jay took Penei Sewell over here because they're really not sure. From people we hear, we heard Peter Schrager talk about it the other day, where he said that it's between those two. So I'm just going to say it's Jamar Chase, and they're going to get their franchise quarterback, his best friend, back from their LSU days.
Mm-hmm.
So going Jamar Chase here makes 100% sense, especially when you consider the amount of offensive line talent that's in this draft, especially in the late first round, early second round, where the Bengals will be picking again. I mean, it's totally plausible to see them go Jamar Chase here and then add an Eichenberg or a Cosme or a Jenkins if any of those guys were to slide with one of their first, second round picks. I just see Penei Sewell as the best offensive lineman in this class. He can come in and play tackle right away, or if you want to keep your tackles the way they are, he can come in and play guard and then take over for one of them over the years. But the best offensive line product in this draft has been ever since 2 years ago in Oregon. He even opted out last year. It still wasn't an argument. People think that the Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell conversation is close, but then there are a lot of people that say that difference between the 1 and 2 tackle in this draft is ginormous, and then the meat of it between Darisaw and Jenkins and Slater is closer, and Penei Sewell is just that much better. So, with Joey Burrow in his time starting last year, taking 32 sacks, which is the second most during that time, and 42 hits, which was the fifth most that time, and tearing his ACL in his first year, I don't think the Bengals risk it and take the best offensive line prospect on the board. But again, I can totally see why you guys are going Chase.
It's great rationale too. And then you could also look at it if you're taking Penei Sewell there's also wide receiver, a couple wide receivers that will most likely fall to the beginning of the second round as well. So a lot of offensive line depth and wide receiver depth in this draft too. So yeah, the coin flip will be determined tomorrow. So the Dolphins are on the clock now. This is the 6th pick. It's just essentially who doesn't go to the Bengals goes to the Dolphins. So
exactly.
Same rationale here. The Dolphins will be happy with either of these players, and I believe if they didn't take if Penei goes to the Bengals, then they would take Jamar Chase. I'm assuming it's the same rationale for you guys too.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
Yeah. You gotta surround Tua with talent, however you can. Take the best player. Beef up that line a little bit.
There was
So,
some talk about Miami maybe moving up, and maybe going with Atlanta, just maybe moving up a couple of picks. If if
for
Penei
Kyle
Sewell's gonna
Pitts.
be there not for Kyle Pitts, yeah. If Kyle Pitts is going to be there at 4, maybe moving up a few spots. I mean, it might cost a little bit, but they've shown willingness to move around in this draft already. So, just a thought. I mean, because Kyle Pitts is leaps and bounds the second best player in this draft behind Trevor Lawrence. So,
Yep. Cool. So our 7th pick is different. So as you can see here, we both have the New England Patriots trading up from their 15th pick. I have him going to the 8th pick. Jay and Andrew have him going to the 7th pick here with the Detroit Lions. For me, Jalen Waddle goes off the board here to a team that didn't re-sign their number 1 wide receiver. It makes sense that they take the next best wide receiver off the board, and Jalen Waddle will provide a playmaking ability that they don't currently have on the roster. And I know Jared Goff is not the best, but he was also taken number 1 overall, just a few years ago. So I'm gonna think they stick it out with him just maybe for a year or two.
Yeah, I love the Jalen Waddle pick to Detroit. I think that makes a ton of sense. They need a dynamic playmaker. They could literally have nobody aside from Quintez Cephas and TJ Hawkinson. I still think they get him after this trade. We'll get to that a little later, but I think the Patriots, Monday news came out that they've been on the phone calling teams in the top 10. They're really trying to make a push to get to the top 10. And I think this is the one that has the most uncertainty at the 7th spot because the Lions don't really know where to go. You mentioned Jared Goff. They traded for him. He's a number 1 overall pick, but hasn't really shown to be the franchise changer that most thought he would be. So the Patriots do what they feel is necessary, and they get a guy to play behind Cam Newton for a year, and they let Justin Fields develop. Justin Fields didn't lose a Big Ten game in his entire career in college, and the Big Ten is one of the best. It's probably amongst the Power 5 conferences, the second best conference, right behind the SEC. Justin Fields is definitely being overlooked. I don't think he makes it out of the top 10, and this is one of the reasons why, because Bill Belichick knows he's got to stay with the times, and he goes and gets his guy.
Yep.
Yeah, Bill Belichick remembers when he was in Cleveland and he didn't have a quarterback, and he remembers the first year and a half, 2 years when he had Drew Bledsoe over there in New England, and then what happened when he got Tom Brady. It's all about the quarterback in this league. Justin Fields has done more than anybody not named Trevor Lawrence over the past 3 years to prove that he's the best quarterback prospect in this draft. And him dropping as far as he's going to is absolutely egregious. It's ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense to me. The 49ers are not going to take them at 3. Ridiculous, okay? The Patriots will happily go up there and get a guy who's going to come in. He'll sit 1 year behind Cam. They're already running a run-style offense there with Cam, and then they'll get Cam a younger version. I mean, he's not as big as Cam. I'm not gonna say he's a younger version of Cam, but someone who does a lot of the things Cam could do. I'm not gonna get too blasphemous here, but he does a lot of the things Cam could do. He's a better thrower of the football right now than Cam Newton. I think he might be a better thrower of the football than Cam Newton in general. Cam Newton had a hose, but Justin Fields has touch, reads the defense better. Ball placement, in my opinion, is better. Cam Newton was really only throwing the ball up when he had Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen. You throw it 6 feet in the air, you jump up and reach everything, and he goes with bullets. No. Justin Fields is the second best quarterback prospect in this draft. I hate that the Patriots are going to get them, but it looks like all signs are pointing to the Patriots moving up to get him. And I will mention, this is totally against the MO of the Patriots. I mean, everything that spells Patriots is move back, get draft picks. Move back, get draft picks. I mean, when you're in the NFL draft, a lot of this stuff is just throwing darts, man, to be honest.
With Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl last year, I think that put the fire underneath the Patriots to go get Justin Fields however they can. In your guys' mock, he's going to number 7. In mine, he's going to number 8. Same rationale Jay just mentioned. Can't really add anything to a good point being made. So I have the Panthers trading to the 15th pick, and then you guys have different picks here. So why do you guys have the Panthers taking different guys?
So I have J.C. Horn going here. He's a guy whose draft stock has been steadily kind of just on the rise, and some people think that he's a little bit better than Patrick Surtain, and I think that I don't personally think that. I think Patrick Surtain is more of a polished product, but J.C. Horn's upside is really good, and the Panthers really need some secondary help. They lost James Bradbury last year, and they saw how that affected them. And James Bradbury obviously made good on the contract he signed with the Giants, and yeah, he's a very good corner, and he needs to be replaced. So I think J.C. Horn could come in and definitely fill that need. He's going to take a little bit of work, but I think he's a solid enough prospect and a good enough player. With he's very hands on. He plays good man. He plays really good man to man in press, and had the lowest completion percentage amongst all corners playing in the SEC last season. So I think it makes a lot of sense here for J.C. Horn to come off the board.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had Rashawn Slater mocked to the Panthers since our first round mock. Makes the most sense when you go ahead and get Sam Darnold. One interesting note that I did mention to Andrew before we came on here, and I kind of had, if there was no trade up for New England to go get Justin Fields, I can see the Panthers still pulling the trigger on Justin Fields. They did a ton of due diligence for these quarterbacks, and I think that they saw what they needed to see out of Justin Fields. As of today, they have not signed the 5th-year option on Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is only making $5 million last year. If their starting quarterback room makes $5 million, they do not care if they hurt, again, Sam Darnold's feelings, because whatever, they traded a 3rd and a 4th round pick for him. So that's just a thought. But the Carolina Panthers offensive line isn't very good. Taylor Moton was like one of their best offensive linemen last year, and he's not all that great. But if you can get an starting offensive caliber tackle from Northwestern, who was one of the best in the Big Ten, he only allowed 5 pressures on 355 snaps in 2019 and not a single sack. Dude's unbelievable. When you put on the tape and see what he did against Chase Young over there at Ohio State, when he put on a clinic with Chase Young, I can definitely see Rashawn Slater being the pick here at 8 and helping Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers see if Sam Darnold's their guy going forward.
Love it. Love the rationale. So we move on to the next group of teams here. So we have a couple of differences, as you can see here. So the Broncos are on the clock with the number 9 pick. I have them taking Mac Jones. So this is the last quarterback available, top 5 quarterbacks available. So I don't think they trade up. They just are happy with whoever falls to them. Mac Jones, 6'3", a nice big guy. I think John Elway would be happy to have him. He can still be leaps and bounds better than Drew Lock for them. And why do you guys like Trey Lance here?
Yeah, John Elway kind of needs to eventually pick a quarterback that's going to work here, right? So I actually don't mind the Mac Jones one if he ends up falling there. You made a lot of good points, and they have a lot of good receiving talent in Denver already. So they just kind of, not that they just need somebody to get him the ball, but Mac Jones would be a good option. I just think Trey Lance comes because of the potential and the upside. He only has 1 year of college experience under his belt, didn't throw an interception. So there's a lot to like about him. He's super mobile, but he also is super young. So if they do want to hang on to Drew Lock just so that way they can kind of let him be the bridge and kind of work, through John Elway and have Trey Lance come in, maybe a year after, that makes a lot of sense. Or, you want to bring him in towards the end of the season next year. Maybe that makes sense too, if the season doesn't go as they plan. So, both quarterbacks here kind of make a lot of sense. I think Denver's taking one regardless though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I originally had Micah Parsons going here, and I could still very well see that be the case. Vic Fangio is probably sick and tired of using his first-round picks on the offensive side of the football, and then watching the offensive side of the football stink, okay? But I don't think that when you look at the landscape of the AFC West and you look, okay, for the next decade, I'm going to be facing Patrick Mahomes and Justin Fields twice a year. I probably need someone better than the number 1 overall draft pick from Team Cheeks from the AJA Sports Show. So Trey Lance and his raw talent and ability, like I mentioned on the first draft, he was a guy who was one of the only guys in college football to do both in terms of reading after the snap and then calling his adjustments at the line of scrimmage before snap. Great to see. Still, like Andrew mentioned, absolutely raw. Could 100% use time on the bench. So you stink this season because Team Cheeks is going to stink it up for you anyway. You lose a bunch of games. You get another high draft pick next year. Trey Lance comes in as a starter. You adjust the defense. Then I'm already thinking long-term. Hire me as a GM there, John Elway. You're not doing the job. Anyway, yeah. So Trey Lance, just the talent is too much there at 9. He dropped all the way to him. I don't see them. They don't have to go give up any picks to go get him. He falls right into their lap. So yeah.
I think it's very realistic that they take a quarterback here. I believe. We all three believe that they take the last quarterback remaining. So we just have a different opinion on who that is. But we have the same rationale. I have the Cowboys taking with the number 10 pick Micah Parsons. Sean Lee retired just a couple of days ago, so this fills in the need. Sean Lee played a little outside linebacker. Micah Parsons can do that too. I just don't think that Micah Parsons falls out of the top 10. So if that means maybe another team is interested in a linebacker and, jumps up in there, or if just trades, like a bunch of trades happen and just pushes defense out of the top 10. There are some rumors that maybe the defensive player won't even go in the top 10. But if we have to put him somewhere here, I like him here. I know we all kind of liked Patrick Surtain the second, and as you can see, he's right there at number 10. I was deciding between the two, but I ultimately went with the Sean Lee retirement kind of influencing my decision.
Yeah, I've had Patrick Surtain the second mock to the Cowboys since we did our first mock draft. I'm going to just keep it that way. I think he's an impact player at an impact position on the defensive side of the ball that really needs a lot of help. If they added Micah Parsons here, that would just be the most phenomenal grouping of linebackers I've ever witnessed in my entire life in the NFL. When you talk about Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith over there too. So that would be a solid option for them. I'm just going to stick with Surtain though. He proved himself really worthy as a top 10 pick at Alabama, in my opinion. And I think Dallas just adds to the Trevon Diggs, I believe is who they added last year. They add to that secondary and they give him another option on the other opposite side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, right there, if they're able to get Patrick Surtain here at 10, which more than likely they're going to be able to, he'll probably still be there. They're going to run out three of the best corners if you look at them as a group in the league. You'll have Jordan Lewis, who came back last year as well. He'll play in the slot. And then you have Trevon Diggs, who guards one of the outside guys, and then Patrick Surtain on the other one. Their pass defense was actually pretty good last year, especially when you look at the cornerback play. They had 88.9% team coverage, which was third best when you look at PFF's grade. And they were the fourth best pass coverage rating for corners in the league last year by PFF. So it's not like it's a need or anything, but in this NFL nowadays, with all the points being scored and all the touchdowns and all the passes that we're having now with this volume passing style that everyone seems to be adopting, having corners is not the biggest issue in the world. So I have Micah Parsons coming right off here, the next pick. But Patrick Surtain for the Cowboys makes a lot of sense.
You just made me feel more comfortable with my pick of Micah Parsons because you just gave me a couple good reasons why they might not go Patrick Surtain the second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to win this mock draft. Just FYI, everyone. So, okay, so I'm gonna go first here. We have the 11th pick. So there was a tweet put out by the Los Angeles Chargers that they traded with the New York Giants. So the Chargers had the 13th pick. They traded just swapped two positions, the 11 for the 13, and then they gave a third round pick to the Giants. And then the tweet was quickly deleted. So I believe there's a chance that this will happen. So I just kind of went on that basis alone. And I have Rashawn Slater still on my board. And if the Chargers are going to trade up a couple of spots, it would make sense that they would do it for Rashawn Slater. Not sure if they have to because Elijah Vera Tucker is, still on the board here. But, they must have a deep affection for their pick here if they're going to jump up two spots. So Rashawn Slater to the Chargers.
Yeah, and I know Joe Judge would probably love to take Micah Parsons here or any sort of, defensive impact player that's on the board. I mentioned Jalen Phillips in one of our previous videos. I think Rashawn Slater still being on the board, at least in my mock draft here. Sean O'Hara is not walking through that door anytime soon, and the Giants have had a pretty terrible offensive line since he retired back in 2013. So I think Rashawn Slater's too great of a prospect to pass up. They need to protect Danny Dimes if he's going to be able to. I call him Danny Dimes. He hasn't even proven it yet. They're going to need to protect Daniel Jones if he's going to be able to actually deliver the ball to Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton. So Rashawn Slater makes a lot of sense. Nate Solder's not really exactly what he was, especially after signing that big contract. So in my mock draft, at least, Rashawn Slater being on the board here, it makes 100% sense. He can get defensive player a little bit later in the draft.
Yeah, so I was reading Peter King's mock draft, and he said apparently I could see Devontae Smith going here for some reason. It seems like the New York Giants want to add another wide receiver. Everything that's coming out says they want to add another wide receiver. I don't get it. I've already talked about how they have more than enough playmaker. I couldn't tell you. Doesn't make any sense to me. Micah Parsons is sitting here. Joe Judge is racing to the podium and drafting Micah Parsons. Apparently, the rumors that Peter King is hearing is Joe Judge loves Devonta Smith. The organization as a whole really likes J.C. Horn, but David Gettleman loves Micah Parsons. And I can see why. Dude's he's the new breed of linebackers for the NFL. Sideline to sideline, great tackler. One of the best coverage linebackers you've seen come out of the draft in, past 5-10 years. Can cover man, can cover the slot in man, which is really impressive. And yeah, Michael Parsons is the best defensive player in this draft, in my opinion. So he goes off the board here at 11. He's not in the top 10, which is unfortunate. I mean, for whoever cares about that kind of thing, but sure. Yeah, he's going to be there at 11.
One spot off's not too bad.
Yeah, definitely not it. So as you can see by the graphic, you can see if it didn't make it clear, the Giants are the picks there for Johnny and Andrew. So the next pick is the Philadelphia Eagles with the 12th pick. We all have them consensus taking Devontae Smith. Wide receiver is a need over there, so why not go get the best wide receiver that's left on the board here? And that would be, I guess it's someone, it's opinion based, but we all believe that Devontae Smith fits into their on their roster better than Jalen Waddle, who's still on the board for, I think, both of you. So yeah, the Eagles taking Devontae Smith, traded back, still got one of the premier college football wide receivers. That kid went just nuts, absolutely nuts last year. With the Chargers trading with the Giants, I have the Giants taking Elijah Vera Tucker here. So if that trade didn't happen, we would have all had Elijah Vera Tucker going to the Chargers. Best tackle remaining on the board after Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. You guys can talk about Elijah if you guys want for a few seconds, and then we can move on.
I'll let Jay do the bulk of the talking. I'll just give him a little bit of credit where it's due. He kind of talked me into this one a little bit. I had Darisaw here for a long time, but Elijah Vera Tucker has kind of proven himself as just the kind of all around offensive lineman, and with the most upside. Darisaw has his issues, but Elijah Vera Tucker comes with just more upside, which Jay can go ahead and talk about. But I was definitely influenced by a little bit by like I said, I was talked into a little bit because of Jay.
Yeah, it was a good call by Jay because lately there's a lot of boards that have Vera Tucker moving up too. So go ahead though, Jay.
Yeah, well, the Chargers had the worst graded offensive line by PFF last year, so it only serves the right to go get someone to improve that. But Elijah Vera Tucker, the year before last, he played guard. And he was the best guard in college football, the best one. Like, it wasn't like he was a top 3 guy. He was the best interior guard in college football. Then he just decided last year, USC decided, hey, we need you to play tackle. And he was a top 3 tackle in college football. So you can have him play guard, tackle, whatever's your flavor. It sounds like the Chargers do have the tackle spots kind of short up. Let him play guard. That's fine. And then when you're ready to pay whoever's playing your tackle position, you pay Elijah Vera Tucker, homegrown. You don't have to look very far for the Chargers, right down the street at USC. He was dominant his entire time playing. The one problem on why people don't like him as a tackle for some reason is his reach and his length. He combats that really well by being one of the best mirrors that I've seen when you look at him on the outside. I mean, Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater are better than him, but after that, I think he's even better than Christian Darisaw, who's coming off the board next for me. And he's a true tackle who's been playing his entire career at tackle, college career at least. But Elijah Vera Tucker does a great job of mirroring, which is able to kind of combat that length, the problem that he has. So Elijah Vera Tucker would be the pick here, especially when you're looking for offensive linemen. There's only so many spots on the roster, so the more positions that person can play, the better.
Yeah, Vera Tucker going there makes a lot of sense. Jay, great points, bud. So the Vikings are on the clock now, number 14th pick. They have a need at safety, 23rd ranked secondary last year. I was deciding between a cornerback or a safety. They need a little bit of help either way. I just went with Trayvon Moehrig because I feel like in the next second round there are like 3 or 4 good options that I've been looking at for my Buffalo Bills team, cornerback wise. So I feel like the Vikings can find a cornerback in that realm too, and just take the top rated safety on the board. And then again, we have different picks here. So why do you have Darisaw going to the Vikings, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a need on that offensive line. Again, they were ranked 26 by PFF, so not much better than the Chargers before them. I personally think they would have loved to see Elijah Vera Tucker drop to them here and have Christian Darisaw go to the Chargers right before them. But Elijah Vera Tucker is better, so that's why he goes there. Christian Darisaw is a road grader, one of the highest graded PFF running grades for an offensive lineman last season. And we all know Mike Zimmer loves to run the football with Dalvin Cook. So glaring need and the best tackle on the board for them.
Cool.
Yeah, I went Jalen Phillips here. He's, a lot of people have him regarded as one of probably the best or most premier edge rusher coming off the board. They do have Danielle Hunter on the opposite side that they're going to have to make a decision here soon. Danielle Hunter is only 25, but he's the quickest player in NFL history to get to 50 sacks. So maybe they catch lightning in a bottle and get Jalen Phillips to, do something similar. And that way they don't have to pay Danielle Hunter if they don't want to. But I think that's a good combination and kind of too talented of a player to pass up right here, Jalen Phillips. I think if he slides anywhere else, that he would probably be gone already. But I like Jalen Phillips a lot. I think he makes a ton of sense for a Vikings defense that needs a bit of retooling. So yeah, this is I think it makes a ton of sense here.
Cool. So with the next pick, this is number 15. We both had traded the New England Patriots out of this pick. I have the Panthers here taking Patrick Surtain II, just based off of need and him being the best cornerback available. You guys had the Patriots trading with the Lions, and you both have them taking Jalen Waddle here. Does one of you guys want to talk about Waddle?
I can talk about him. Super explosive, especially in that short burst area of the field. He plays a lot of the slot, which is great for Jared Goff, especially. We saw what he was able to do with Cooper Kupp. Jalen Waddle was much more explosive than Cooper Kupp, though. I mentioned on the first draft, he averaged 24.4 yards per punt return. Just on a punt return, he averaged 24.4 yards per attempt, just to show you how explosive he is. Yeah, and that's over 3 seasons, so that's not no short sample size. Jalen Waddle, it's a toss-up between him and Devonta Smith. I personally like Devonta Smith better. I feel like he has a better feel for defenses. Is able to find the creases a little better, where Jalen Waddle is just more of an explosive athlete who can make things happen after the catch a little bit better. So I think Jalen Waddle is a great pick and a steal for them here, because I think that's who they would have been targeting if they didn't move out with the Patriots before.
Cool. So we have the Cardinals on the clock next, number 16 pick here. So we all had them in our previous draft taking cornerback. We all had them taking J.C. Horn. Since Andrew's mock already has J.C. Horn off the board, he falls here to me. They need help on the defensive end, so I would hope for their sake they focus on that in this draft and, hope to have a healthy Kyler and, keep working to a balanced team because they play in one of the toughest divisions. Andrew, why do you have Greg Newsome here?
Yeah, so you mentioned it. I had J.C. Horn going here initially. I don't think they go away from the cornerback route. They need, corner is obviously, like Jay mentioned a couple minutes ago, it's an impact position that, you would love to have somebody over there, and they no longer have Patrick Peterson, and even if they did have him, he wasn't really that great. I think Greg Newsome comes in, and even though he only played 6 games in the 2020 season, he still made third team. He was still a third team All-American and was first team All Big Ten. He's super long. He's super physical. He has really good hip fluidity from what I'm hearing. So if that matters to Arizona, we'll see. But I think he's a good enough prospect, and he's got 3 years of playing experience to back that up. So I think either way, they're going to go corner here.
Hip fluidity, of course, Arizona Cardinals. They pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars to do their job. You're damn right they put hip fluidity somewhere on their big board. I guarantee you, bro. That is next level right there. Thanks, Andrew.
Absolutely.
Pat you on the back, man. So, 16 pick. J.C. Horn for Johnny and I. And if you guys want more in-depth analysis of each of these players, please go to Mock Draft 2.0, and then there's a timestamp for each player, and then you'll be able to get a little bit of more of an introduction than we're kind of just breezing through some of these picks here. But there's a lot to say, so we're going to move on to our next set of picks here. So the Oakland Raiders here at 17 to the Chicago Bears at 20. Again, we have all different picks here. I have him taking Greg Newsome II. This is actually my 3rd cornerback in a row being taken off the board. These teams all could use some help. The Las Vegas Raiders just take the best available secondary, in my opinion, and fill a need. Johnny, Caleb Farley, you have Caleb Farley going here.
Yeah, so I would have had him taking a defensive player in 1.0, but I had Trey Lance falling all the way down here and then them not being able to keep their hands off of him. But when you have – so their starting corners last year were Trayvon Mullen and Damon Arnett. Trayvon Mullen was 82nd, and Damon Arnett was 116th out of PFF's 121 cornerbacks ranked. So that's not very good. Caleb Farley is had some injury questions. He had that back problem that people are kind of scared of. But I think when you look at the Oakland Raiders and you see you're going to be having to face Justin Herbert twice a year and Patrick Mahomes twice a year, you better find an answer for your porous pass defense. And getting the top cornerback left on the board is that solution for me for them.
Yeah. Yeah, Micah Parsons falling this low, Andrew. So
Explain yourself.
I just think it's the way my draft went. But
Yeah.
hey, you had a question?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, are they just taking the best defensive player available, so that you just had him taking Micah Parsons essentially for that reason?
I mean, not necessarily. I kind of was looking to maybe go secondary for them a little bit. They added Carl Joseph. They drafted Jonathan Abram a couple years, I think maybe 2 years ago. Not exactly sure when he came into the league, but he's a young, talented player they have in the secondary. So I went away from it just for the simple fact that they brought back Carl Joseph, a guy that they originally liked. And I think, yeah, kind of a little bit with Micah Parsons being on the board still and being the best player available, and a little bit because they're just not very good at linebacker. I couldn't even name you who their linebackers are right now, but I know that they've done a lot to try and beef up their edge rushing, and they probably will do that later in the draft as well. But if they see Micah Parsons on the board here, there's no way he gets past 17 for a team that's just absolutely been decimated on the defensive side of the ball and can't stop a nosebleed.
Any weapon that could potentially
Yeah.
be Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite, take him in a heartbeat. As you can see, I'll talk about the 18th pick here, and then we'll move on to the Washington football team. Kwity Paye. At a moment, and I believe that was draft 2.0, we all thought Kwity Paye would be the first edge guy off the board. Andrew changed his mind for this draft, so we'll see. Jalen Phillips going a little sooner. But Kwity Paye, we all have him going here. I think it's a good fit. They spent their first pick beefing up their offensive line, and then so they'll spend their second pick beefing up their defensive front seven. So I don't see anything wrong with that. They get, possibly the best edge rusher off this board. So and a lot of natural talent there that I'm sure will get that team excited on the defensive end. Mind you, they haven't been afraid to trade around picks, so who knows if they even keep this pick. A lot of Dolphins fans, I think, want to see them just go crazy for some reason or another. But, I mean, they were close to beating, the Buffalo Bills, or not beating the Buffalo Bills, but, they had a shot in that division last year. So. The Washington football team is next here on the board. We have them taking, Andrew and I have them taking Christian Darrisaw. And on my board, they needed a tackle. Darrisaw was here on the board. They beefed up their offense a little bit, so I just believe that this makes sense as far as just securing the quarterback of the future, maybe next year, and then or via trade, and then they just work on their line in the meantime. And then Jamin Davis for you, Johnny. What's up with that?
Yeah, so they have playmakers at every level of their defense besides the linebacker position. I was really tempted to go with Jeremiah Owosu here, but when you look at the size of Jamin Davis versus Owosu, it really made the difference here in the picks. Luke Kuechly was understudy right there with Ron Rivera when they were in Carolina. Jamin Davis is 6'3", 235 pounds. That's exactly the same size that Luke Kuechly was. A lot like Luke Kuechly, he's able to go sideline to sideline, cover. He's going to take over and be the coach on the defense for I almost said Luke Kuechly, for Ron Rivera for that Washington football team defense. Owosu, for reference, is only about 6'1", 215, so about 2 inches and about 20 pounds more, a little more beef. Adds it up front for and gets the pick for me for Washington football team.
Cool. So the Chicago Bears are on the clock here with the 20th pick. And again, we all have something a little different. Well, I have something completely different. I have him taking a wide receiver, Terrace Marshall Jr. for his size that he can bring to that. I don't know. I was reading some articles. He has some comps to Allen Robinson's potential. I don't even know if Allen Robinson's going to be on the team after next year because they just signed him to a franchise tag. So I think this is kind of like a necessary pick because if you're not even sure you're going to keep Robinson, then who do you have, right? You have Mooney, okay. I mean, but you still need some pieces there.
Yeah, they're looking to
And
move off of Anthony Miller too. That they that's been around like the news cycle in Chicago for a little while now too. So
yeah, and Anthony Miller, for all my knowledge of him, underperformed a lot last year. Had a couple of good quarters, if anything. Cornerback though, I know there's good reason for them to take a cornerback. Why do you guys have him taking cornerback here?
I just think it's an immediate need. They lost Kyle Fuller, who was a Pro Bowl cornerback.
Yep.
He's a really, really big, tough man-to-man corner. I have Caleb Farley going here, and we know the issues with the injury concerns, but the upside is just too good for for Chicago to not take him here to add to that secondary. An already good defense, they just adds another good player at an impact position. So if he's on the board here, I think they take him.
So we can move on to our next set of picks here. We have the Colts on the clock. Again, we all have somebody different. Why don't you guys go first? Why are they going to take an edge guy?
I think they need a replacement for Justin Houston, who didn't necessarily give a ton of production, but still a body that needs, you have to add what you lose. So I think Azeez Ojulari is one of the more impressive edge rushers coming off the board in this year's draft. He's a little undersized, as I mentioned in a previous video. He's like the Brian Burns, Yannick Ngakoue build, but we've obviously seen those two guys have great success so far in the NFL level, so I don't see that being too much of an issue. You add him to a defensive line where you have DeForest Buckner being able to cause some havoc on the inside. You get a guy on the edge that can get to the quarterback and really help that defense start to transform, especially with Darius Leonard in the middle there.
Cool.
Yeah, I like Jalen Phillips here. He's a hybrid, can play the 3-4 outside linebacker or 4-3 defensive end, depending on, Indy likes to get a little creative. They may very well bring back Justin Houston and draft an edge player because their edge play was so bad last year. When you look at Ballard's a guy who likes to get value and make sure he's taking for. He's not always drafted for a position of need, like when we had him as a Chiefs GM for a little bit. So I think this is a position of need, and it's a guy at a great value. Jalen Phillips has a lot of questions. We saw what happened when he was with UCLA, and he ended up leaving the program. But I think this is a great fit for a team that needs some beef on the D line.
So I have the Colts taking Rashad Bateman here. When we comparison to some of the top talent of the wide receivers in this draft, he doesn't have anything that just drops your jaw, but he's good at everything. So I think he's a safer pick in that regard. He's got good after the catch ability. I don't think we had him going in either of our first two mocks. So he can adjust well to routes. Like I said, he's got good yak. He played a lot of slot last season. He could be the type of person that would bring in production, because I think what the Colts maybe need above all else is they're kind of re-envisioning their offense with Carson Wentz is production, and I feel like Rashad Bateman can come in and put up some serious good numbers, be in competition to with receptions and yards next year. And again, not the best wide receiver in this draft by any means, but someone that I could envision them taking.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get Carson Wentz, as much help as he could possibly have, especially if you're Frank Reich after seeing, the poor receiving core that he had to work with in the 3 years since he was gone. So I like the pick. I like that.
And I do think he's flying a little under the radar. And I do think he has some room to improve. So his ceiling's maybe not as high as some of the other guys, but I feel like he has a pretty decent floor. I made a little snafu for this next pick. Elijah Moore and Kadarius Toney are actually switched for Andrew and Johnny. So Andrew has Elijah Moore going to the Titans, and Johnny has Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney, you want to talk about him, Jay, for both of us?
Yeah, Kadarius Toney is a great playmaker, great ability to cut. He has a great feel for defenses, played a lot of the slot when he was in Florida. I think that he comes in and replaces Corey Davis as a bigger body in the slot. I believe they still have Adam Humphries, who is a smaller guy who likes to run out of the slot as well. No, they don't have Adam Humphries. I apologize. They don't have Adam Humphries anymore. But Kadarius Toney's going to come in and he'll replace the slot production that's going to be missing from Corey Davis and Adam Humphries.
Cool.
Yeah, they did sign Josh Reynolds, but as you saw in the 4 years that he was at the Rams, Josh Reynolds is obviously not a long-term option. I went Elijah Moore here just because he's a bit more buttoned up than Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney probably gives you a little bit more of upside, especially if you see him, if you saw him at the Senior Bowl. He really made an impression on the way he moves and the kind of wiggle he brings to the field. I think Elijah Moore just makes sense opposite of AJ Brown. He's great at the line of scrimmage. He's going to break a ton of tackles. He's got that toughness that Mike Vrabel really likes. I don't think Mike Vrabel is looking to develop a wide receiver. That's probably not his MO and in terms of what he wants to do. So to get a guy who's a little more buttoned up and a more polished out of the slot will probably make his job as especially after not having he's going to have a new offensive coordinator. Arthur Smith is now the head coach of the Falcons, who was previously over with the Titans. So getting Elijah Moore, who's like I said, I'm not going to keep saying he's more buttoned up, but he's just a more polished receiver than Kadarius Toney is at this moment in time, and I think it makes a little more sense. But
out of the slot, I agree with you. Out of the slot, he's more polished up. But when you line him up outside, which unless Josh Reynolds going to be the number 2 guy out there, Tony's going to have to do some stuff on the outside, kind of like Corey Davis did. I think he played like about 67% of his snaps last year inside, but you still have to go outside. Elijah Moore is more than capable of doing that, but I think Kadarius Toney's more fit to doing both of them, which is why I think he's a higher prospect.
Gotcha. So we're moving on to the Jets here at 23. You guys have him taking an edge guy. I have him taking a cornerback. Why don't you guys start? Gregory Rousseau. Why do you have? You have him on the board here. Why do you have him going to the Jets, Jay?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of edge players at the end part of this first round and the beginning of the second round that are really intriguing, and Greg Rousseau is one of them. He's a guy that I mentioned in the last mock, put up a lot of numbers, but he did so kind of, I don't want to say like misleadingly, but it was against a lot of interior linemen where he wasn't playing as like the defensive end truly. They would bring him in as like a one tech, and he would be able to win those matchups. I think it was like 7 out of his 19 sacks were from that position. So he's a guy who can make plays. When you look at the Jets defensive line, they have Quinnen Williams, who's very good, but their edge play has been kind of lacking. So I think Greg Rousseau is the guy who comes in and is able to make plays and be a playmaker on the defensive end that Robert Saleh would be looking for after getting his franchise quarterback. I think he would have really liked to get a corner here, but with so many of them flying off the board as I think they are, especially those top tier corners, I think that, they get best player available who can still make an impact. And that's Greg Rousseau for me.
Yeah, I kind of just use the same rationale for why I picked Jason Oweh here. We just kind of have a difference in who we actually think is a better fit. Jason Oweh has only been playing football since 2016, so maybe that's a little bit of worry. But, from his San Francisco days as a defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh loves his guys off the edge. And like Jay mentioned, Quinnen Williams is a force already in the middle, so you need somebody on the outside. He's improved greatly from 1 year to the next. He increased his run defense grade 30 points from 2019 to 2020. So that's nice to see, especially for a Jets defense who needs help kind of everywhere, and he can affect both the run game and passing game. So I like Jason Oweh here from Penn State.
Yeah, and so I had him taking a cornerback, as Jay kind of aforementioned. They were really bad at the outside coverage last season, and then in a division where they have to face Josh Allen, Justin Fields, if we have him going to the Patriots, and I guess Tua. You set up weapons on that side of the ball just to beef up your defense. And they already worked on their offense with their first pick. So this is why I think we all had them go defense with their second pick. And then we have the Steelers on the clock here. We haven't taken a lineman. I haven't taken the center Landon Dickerson, kind of as I did in the 2.0 draft. He can fill an immediate need. He's probably getting a little under the radar just because of some of his injuries, which have are on the table. But yeah, I can see Landon Dickerson going here. Why do you guys have Tevin Jenkins instead?
Yeah, so I had Landon Dickerson in my first mock, but I wasn't really too worried about the injuries. He tore his ACL twice already, bro. I mean, and I mean, when you're looking at offensive linemen, it's not offensive linemen get injured. It's not the worst case scenario, but when you see it, especially at a position like center is not a position that normally gets drafted that high. Again, I thought it was a great selection for them right there as well. But the more I looked at Tevin Jenkins, he's an NFL ready offensive tackle. Like right now, started 3 games at left tackle, 9 games at right tackle last year. And again, just absolutely NFL ready. They lost Alexander Villanueva last year. That O-line needs to get a revamp. Landon Dickerson, Tevin Jenkins is also really good at run blocking from that tackle spot, which is something that the Pittsburgh Steelers obviously were not able to do very well last year, and something that Mike Tomlin wants to make a point of. So
The Jaguars are on the clock again with the 25th pick. I have them taking Christian Barmore. Just a nasty defensive interior guy that can shake up the other side of the ball. And so I'm kind of I'm okay with them taking him here. To me, they need to rebuild everything. So cornerstone on offense is already taken care of. Christian Barmore can handle the defensive line, and then they can build around him in the coming years. And you guys both have Trayvon Morg here going to the Jaguars. Andrew, you want to talk about Morg?
Yeah, absolutely. 6'2", 202 pounds, only allowed a 51% completion rate throughout his entire 3 years as a starter over at TCU, graded above a 77 according to PFF since he was a freshman. An absolutely clear-cut number one safety coming off the board, and I think the only safety that's probably going to be taken in the first round of this year's draft, unless something drastic happens. But he's a super impact player. They added Shaquille Griffin and Rayshawn Jenkins to the league's worst defensive unit last year. So they're just going to keep beefing up that secondary. A lot of the edge rushers, impact edge rushers are probably off the board that they probably would have liked to have over Morig, but instead they get the 3-year starter and, shore up the back end of their defense, and they can front load. They can overload the rest of the front of their defense later in the draft.
Perfect. We have the Browns on the clock next. I have them taking edge guy Jalen Phillips. Andrew kind of already broke it down for you there. I think they're definitely going to go defense in this draft, and I just had them taking the best edge guy available when I was doing my mock. Jay, do you want to talk to us about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah real quick?
yeah, he's the guy who's flying up boards right now, and for every reason he should be. He's kind of like a Micah Parsons light. 3-down backer, does everything in terms of being able to play the run, being able to play the pass, both in man and zone coverage. I think he's going to be a steal, especially at this spot. Peter King had the Cleveland Browns trading up to 21 to go get him. And I think it's well warranted. He is a little smaller and does struggle at tackling, which is not, the most ideal thing in the world for your middle linebacker to have that be a struggle, but that's something that, players get better at as time goes on, especially when you get to the NFL, get into an NFL, not that, the weight room at Notre Dame is lacking or anything, but, you get into an NFL system and get with those kind of guys and, you seem to see things get a little bit better. So, Jeremiah Owusu is a steal here at 26. And when you're starting Mike right now is Anthony Walker, I think Cleveland would take him and absolutely be smiling the rest of the way doing it.
Yeah, will be a nice addition to the dog pound over there. The Baltimore Ravens are on the clock here. We have a difference of opinion. I have him taking Elijah Moore. I had him as the best fit wide receiver available. Let's talk about Gregory Rousseau, Andrew, just for a second, if you want, and then we can kind of move on since we already talked about Terrace.
Absolutely. So I don't think I'd be selected. I don't think I would have him projected to go 27 here. I had him 30 in my other draft, going to Buffalo. The only reason I have him going here is because I think that, losing Matthew Judon and not really sure where your pass rusher is going to be going. Now that you made the trade with the Chiefs, you can afford to take a defensive end here or an edge rusher, and then, hopefully fall into, possibly a Terrace Marshall or another receiver that comes off the board at 31. So I like Greg Rousseau. He didn't get a chance he's coming out of Miami, just like Jalen Phillips, who's going to be going to Cleveland in your mock Ace, but he didn't get a chance to play with him because he opted out of 2020. But when he did play in 2019, he had 16 sacks, just going to add to a defense that desperately needs some pass rush. They're really good in the secondary. They're good at linebacker. They just need a lot of help coming from their edge. So hopefully Greg Rousseau can step in and fill that void.
Cool. And then we'll move on to the New Orleans Saints here with the 28th pick in this draft. Again, we all have a difference of opinion. I'll have Jay talk a little bit about Elijah Moore. My understanding of the pick here was just depth, because they have pretty decent positions of need. Like they could use a wide receiver, they could use a cornerback, they could use a linebacker. I just had him taking cornerback depth because they have to face off against Tom Brady, and so just put as many weapons anti Brady. Give yourselves a chance to not only win the division, but possibly knock the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of the playoffs next year, because you're going to face them in the playoffs next year. Jay, real quick, Elijah Moore, you like the fit here?
Yeah, I mean, when your second receiver after Michael Thomas is Traquan Smith, you might want to look to do something there, especially when you're going to have Jameis Winston throwing 50 interceptions to the other team. You probably need someone to score some points. When you look at Elijah Moore, Andrew mentioned him as a real buttoned-up prospect, which he is, absolutely. Short area quickness, he's absolutely amazing. Is able to still line up outside, even though he's much more effective in the slot. Michael Thomas likes to line up in the slot a lot, but, the way we're running 4 wide receiver sets nowadays in the NFL, there's 2 slot positions open, baby, so they'll figure out a way to get him the ball. He actually was second in college football last year in catches and receiving yards behind one Devontae Smith, which makes all the sense in the world. So I think Elijah Moore here to help out Jameis Winston. It makes great sense for them here.
Yeah, no, Andrew, I'll just keep it short for you, since Jay kind of talked about Jamin Davis, and I have him going in the next pick as well. So just to kind of keep the draft fluid, but you have him there. As I mentioned, we all drafted an area of need for them for depth. So cornerback, wide receiver, linebacker, which is kind of cool. We all just have a difference of opinion where that pick's going to go. But we'll see. Any of us could be right. Maybe we'll do like a water bet or something. Whoever gets that one right out of the 3, water to the face.
Nice. I like it.
So the Packers are on the clock. The Packers, in my draft, take Jamin Davis for reasons we kind of already mentioned, like in our other drafts. So you guys, real quick, talk about why you have him taking wide receiver. And Johnny, why do you have Bateman? Andrew, why do you have Moore in your mock?
Yeah, I have Rondale Moore just because of his ability after the catch. Another guy who can kind of play anywhere alongside the line of scrimmage, in the slot, out wide. But lined up opposite Devontae Adams, you're going to be able to do a lot, or even on the same side of the field as him. The one issue with Rondale Moore is going to be his size. He is only 5'7", but he did put up 12 catches for $180 and 2 touchdowns against Ohio State in 2019. So that's very encouraging. He's just super explosive after the catch, and I think Green Bay kind of will get a chance to learn their lesson here. Maybe don't take a quarterback in the first round when you're franchise, diamond in the rough. Aaron Rodgers has been longing for first round talent at his side. So Rondale Moore makes a lot of sense. Rashad Bateman makes sense too. I just think they go and get a receiver. I don't think they piss off their fan base any more than they did last year with Jordan Love.
I hope not, right?
You would be wrong. You would be wrong, because they've done it every year. They're starting to turn the tide signing Aaron Jones. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Like, oh my God, Green Bay's going to play a playmaker? I've never seen that happen. Yeah, right. You called it. Yeah. Right. I just think Bateman is bigger receiver, a little more polished. He's a guy that's seen his name kind of crawl up boards a little bit here as we start to get to the back end of the first round. He immediately be the number 2 starter behind Devontae Adams. One problem he has with releases, Devontae Adams is really good on that. So hopefully with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams coaching him up, he can be a productive player, number 2 at them. There's something that they don't ever do, right? So this is totally off on a limb, because the Packers don't spend first round picks on playmakers. So we'll see what happens.
I'm going to be right. Just kidding. Okay, so Buffalo Bills are on the clock. My team is taking their mindset is to take the best player available. I want them to take an edge guy, as I said in our last mock draft. However, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on the board, and he's got the ability to be fantastic for them in the future. He can fit into any type of scheme, I believe. And the linebacker wasn't necessarily like the position of choice that they need to fill. I do like his upside there. So we have our first running back in this draft. Why are the Bills going to take Najee Harris?
Because their running game is stunk. It's been bad. They were in 2019. They finished 9th. Last year they finished 20th. Neither Singletary or Moss ran for over 100 yards last year. So literally you go ahead and you get the exact opposite of that. Get the guy who's literally productive all the time in Najee Harris, who in 2020 had 1,466 rushing yards and 26 touchdowns. 3 down back. He was great at catching the football, even though people say that big running backs don't normally catch the football. Well, Derrick Henry, see Najee Harris.
Mhm.
And Najee Harris, if he goes to the Buffalo Bills, is not something I want to see. But I definitely think that running back is in play for them here.
I like that pick a lot.
I would agree with you. It's something I don't want to see, Jay, being Chiefs fans. I went defensive side of the ball here too. I went Christian Barmore. Another one of those cases where you just kind of take the best player available. Christian Barmore is kind of one of those like defensive like interior defensive linemen that is just absolute studs. Like he literally looks like Derek Brown, who came out of Auburn 2 years ago, and just has that been absolutely tearing apart the interior offensive lineman since he got to Carolina. So Christian Barmore from Alabama, he had 12 pressures in 2 games in the college football playoff, and like 3 sacks, I believe. So he's a really good player that I think is going to fit nicely on the Bills defensive line. They could use some help there. I like if Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on the board still, that'd be good for them too. I think they're going defensive side of the ball here though. So Christian Barmore for me.
Yeah, if Owusu's on the board still, that's a great pick too.
Like the back of this draft is going to be also just as exciting as the first part of this draft, just because like you have these established like Super Bowl contending teams, and you have no idea like potentially where they're going to go because they are essentially the most balanced of the bunch, and maybe they trade back, so it's going to be exciting. So the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock here. Jay and I both have them taking Azeez Ojulari, and then Andrew has them taking Terrace Marshall Jr. We've already kind of covered Terrace Marshall, so we can kind of skip his analysis there. I think the Ravens take Ojulari here because he has the potential. He's already like elite at his like pass rushing potential. He just needs a little bit of help on the run defense side of things. Jay, you have any little blurb you want to mention about Azeez?
Nope, but I mean, I have a little bit, but yeah, absolutely. The run defense.
You always
thing,
have a little bit.
Yeah, I always got something. The run defense thing is absolutely 100% true. I just talked about it a little earlier ago that these edge defenders that come out of college, what's the one thing that they're not very good at? Run defense, because where do you get paid? You get paid and get noticed by getting sacks. So no one wants to worry about what they got to do in run protection until they get to the NFL and the defensive coordinator says, hey, you need to make sure that you're holding this gap. And then they look clueless because they're like, oh, I'm not just rushing the passer every play. No, you're not. You got to defend against the run, especially in the NFL. Baltimore runs a 3-4 front, which means that Azeez Ojulari is going to come in. He'll play that 3-tech defensive end right away. They lost Yannick Ngakoue and Matt Judon, as Andrew kind of mentioned earlier. So Ojulari has the NFL ready strength and speed combination to come in and be a difference maker on that 3-4 defensive front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has he'll improve with playing time, and he should be able to fit right into that defense. So the last pick of the first round in our mock draft 3.0, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock, and you guys have them taking Zaven Collins. I was like, didn't know what to do. I wanted to take Zaven Collins here. You guys are probably going to be right. I picked Alex Leatherwood because they have to they're bringing back their offensive line from last year, and I think they were pretty much healthy. I just don't know. Like you just gotta like be careful with like Tom Brady and just have some extra depth there. He has to improve his overall strength, so that's why he's a little bit lower. He needs to work on finishing blocks, so that's why he's a little bit lower than some of the other guys here. But he's athletic and he has large upside, and he can kind of set a large base and get good leverage. So that's and he has some explosiveness. So maybe he just I think in Tampa Bay he'll kind of learn how to be a little bit nastier. So like that'll be good for him and that'll improve his potential as a player. So Zaven Collins, why am I wrong?
So this is the perfect fit for this 3-4 front that they run in Tampa Bay. He'll play the outside linebacker position, and he will do a phenomenal job on both of them as he was a 90 PFF grade in both run and pass defense. He's, again, the perfect fit for the 3-4. Last season, he had 54 tackles, and in 8 games, he had 4 sacks and 4 interceptions. So if you're looking for production on all levels, ability to play in the run game, play in the pass game, especially as a 3-4 outside linebacker, look no further than Zaven Collins. Azeez Ojulari and Zaven Collins could easily be flipped here if Baltimore does a little more research and sees that they like Zaven Collins a little better. Azeez Ojulari is, I would say, a little bit more of a pass rusher, as Zaven Collins is just far and away a better pass pro guy or pass defense guy than Azeez Ojulari.
I just picked up what you just put down. either way you cut it, if we're right or if we're wrong, one of us will be the winner. Hopefully there's not a tie because I don't want to like have to like share a punishment or a prize with someone else.
Do
But
we all get water to the face, courtesy of Lord Lizzie? Is that gonna happen? I mean,
it might just be we'll just line up in a row and take it like
Water balloons.
like a champ.
right.
But when we all don't get double-digit picks right, that's what happened.
I'm hoping to get 5. I'm just hoping to get 5.
Before this video, before you see this video, I'll probably put on our socials to see what our punishment should be. But thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this mock draft. We had a lot of fun with it. We think, therefore, we chose these players. So hopefully we're right. It's always good to, all of the research and work that we put into this kind of come through. Again, draft night. Hopefully it's crazy. Hopefully we're all wrong. Hopefully it's just mayhem and chaos and everything's burning and everything is fine. But either way, we hope you enjoy the draft tomorrow. We'll be enjoying it as well. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Thanks, guys.